What's going on, everybody? I'm Terrence, and this is Bank Shipping. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope everybody's having a good morning this morning. And if you ain't up, go ahead and get up and start that grind. I am up here in Vineland, New Jersey this morning. Got up here about 6:30 with a load of Kingspan. Was going to come up last night, and stay the night up here because they had parking at the drop off. But Kingspan took a little long because they were busy, and my fuel filter started acting up, so I had to get those changed. And by the time I did all that, it was too late, so I just parked it, went to the house. Got up here, left the house about 3 o'clock, got up here about 6:30 this morning. No traffic, easy ride. Met a buddy up here. I don't know if y'all can see him leaving. Met him up here. He was dropping a load of Kingspan also. He came up last night because he got out at a reasonable time. Some buddy Charlie, man's been trucking for almost 50 years. So he's actually headed back to Kingspan right now to get another load to bring back up here tomorrow. But me, once we get unloaded here, I'm gonna jump about 25 miles north and get a load of cable reels from Swedesboro and take that to Baltimore. And then once I drop in Baltimore, I'll go back to Kingspan, reload for tomorrow morning. So I'm already unstrapped. Like I said, it's about a little bit 8 o'clock now. So been here for a while. I've already got unstrapped and everything. So I'm just waiting to finish getting unloaded, and I'll see y'all at the pickup. Whew. I'm hot. I'm dirty. I gotta stop wearing black shirts in the summertime. And then, no matter how clean you try to keep your chains, it's inevitable that they get rust on them. And then, I don't know how well y'all can see my shirt and my pants, but yeah, we quite filthy. But anyway, this is the load. Let me see if I can get y'all a better picture of it. Boom. 10 reels, 2 on each side, pair, so 5 pairs. Originally, the broker was like, oh, well, they normally only run, you only need 7 chains. And I saw it was 10 pieces, and I'm like, oh, that don't, I'm counting on my fingers. I'm like, that don't add up. So what the broker is telling some of these guys on these reels is you only need 7 chains. 2 on the front pair, 2 on the back pair, and then 1 on the 3 pair in the middle. Well, that's all fine and dandy if everything works out perfect. But as you can see, let me show you guys right here. So as you can see, there's a gap in between those 2 reels, and then there's no gap and they overlap. Well, what happens when you have that is because sometimes the load is off-centered when they load you. No matter how perfect you tried, I mean, we tried, we pushed, we moved, everything, just couldn't get them, butt up against each other. And it only takes one to get off to throw everything else off. So if you have that problem where you have a gap, then you need 2 chains to keep forward and backwards movement from happening. Now, some guys may be okay with just throwing 1, and it may work, but me personally, y'all know me, I like to over secure, so I throw 2 chains on each one. So got everything chained down, all that good stuff. Got my bungees on here to keep my chains from falling down. Now I'm just walking around the trailer, making sure everything, they got some wood chalks that they put on here to keep everything from moving while they were loading. But when you tighten the chain down and everything, they come loose. So I'm just going to take those off, because the last thing I want is for them to go flying off down the highway, hit somebody. That's a lot. Sorry about that. So we're gonna throw these back over in the wood pile. It's just little pieces, so there ain't really no point in me keeping them. But yeah, we're gonna throw these things over in the wood pile, and we're gonna get on down to Baltimore. Hopefully traffic's good to us, so I ain't, you know, all day trying to get down there so I can get unloaded and get back to Kingspan, get loaded for tomorrow. So I will see y'all at the drop off. All right, just like that, we empty. Easy unload. Had to wait like 5 minutes for the guy to get here, but only took him about 20 minutes to get all those reels off. Took me longer to put my chains away. Got the axle up, we ready to go. I just got to fix my tarps where they slid back a little bit, tighten up that strap. We got to pull up here, back up, get out of here. What a fun time it was getting in here. You know, downtown Baltimore, people don't know how to drive, all that good stuff. But I'm gonna stop flapping these gums, get ready to get out of here so we can get to the next pickup. I'll see y'all there. So I'm down here in Fredericksburg and delivering my normal load of insulation to this job site over here. I had all intentions of bringing this down Thursday morning. I was supposed to pick up Wednesday and bring down Thursday morning because it was an easy short trip, and my daughter had a school event, so I wanted to be able to make it. So it worked out perfect. Well, got to my customer Wednesday after I, you know, ran up to Jersey and Jersey to Baltimore, those reels and everything. I got back to my customer and a bunch of people had called out. They only had one loader that was loading trucks, and they had 10 trucks in front of me when I got there. I was the 11th truck. And I got there probably about 4:30 or so, 4:45. And, you know, so I'm like, well, this is gonna be a long wait. And I was there till about 11 o'clock Wednesday night. And they came up to me and they was like, hey, your load's in Fallen Waters. So my customer has 2 yards. You know, they have the plant where they load trucks, and then they have like a laydown yard as well, about 35 miles north of Winchester. So my load was not in Winchester, it was in Fallen Waters. So it was my fault because I got the loads mixed up. I thought the load that went to my Friday load picked up out of Fallen Waters, and my Thursday load picked up out of Winchester. Well, I got them back mixed up. So because of that, I sat there for, you know, 5 or so hours and didn't even need to. And then also because of that, I couldn't load this load Wednesday because they were already closed by 11 o'clock. And then on top of that, since I wasn't supposed to be there, I get no detention pay for setting. So that kind of sucked. But what I ended up doing is I ended up just going up and getting it Thursday and then just setting on it because I still wanted to make it to my daughter's event. So now here we are, Friday. So now, because this is delivering Friday, delivering today, I have to drop this, get back to my customer, reload, and then also drop my Friday load, which was Springfield. It's another short trip, so it's not a big deal as long as my customer gets me loaded in pretty good time. But yeah, so pay attention. Learn from me and pay attention. You know, that's like the second time I've done that, just because I don't load out of Fallen Waters a lot, so I just don't be thinking. And I was trying to hurry up, you know, Wednesday, running all them loads and stuff and get back to Winchester and all that. And yeah, so it ended up kind of making things a little difficult for a Friday. So much for an easy Friday, but it's all going to work out. It's all good. But I have came to notice, you know, when I do these job sites, I do a lot of job sites, you know, in Fredericksburg, Richmond, DC area, Maryland, all those places. And I've come to find that if it says historic downtown, it's going to be fun. I tell you, every load that I've ever delivered to a job site in a historic downtown area, no matter where it is, it's always tight, it's always crowded, all that. You know, I called yesterday and told them that I was going to be down here this morning. And, you know, I asked if the address was right, all that stuff, because I knew I was coming to historic downtown Fredericksburg, and I didn't want to be somewhere that I wasn't supposed to be. And they told me, yeah, you know, that's the right address. So The address puts you on that side, on the other side of that building. So, you know, when I looked at Google Maps, I see it's a 2-lane one-way street on that side, and then a 2-lane one-way street on this side. So, you know, I come down the road. It wasn't too bad getting here. I get over on that side, and they tell me, you know, you got to be on the other side. So I'm like, well, that kind of stinks. But I had already looked at Google Maps of the job site. So what Google Maps didn't show me is the fence around the job site, and they didn't show me that this was parking. I thought that this was the road. So basically this corner down here, I had to make a left-hand turn to come down this one-way street that runs a backside along there, and then make this left-hand turn to come up the street to here. Well, that red car parked down there, right there, yeah, it made it a pretty nice pain in the butt to get around that turn, because the fence kind of sticks out in this particular lane right here. And so what I had to do is I had to pull up, back up, and then basically ride the line of these cars to clear the fence and the barrels. So that was fun. But we getting unloaded. It's all good. You know, that's one of the things that I do, man. Like, you know, when I always tell people, when you get into this business, to find your niche, you know, find something that you're good at and hammer on that. Oh, one of the niches that I have is delivering to job sites. There's a lot of work out of my customer that goes to job sites. And there's a lot of people that don't want to deliver to job sites because they're tight. So I get a lot of work from that. Doesn't make it easy with a 53-foot trailer, but I make it work. They want me to back up, so I'm gonna back it up, get these last 4 skids off, and then we'll head back to the customer, and I'll see y'all there. Well, I made it, barely. Got back to the customer, had to wait a little while to get loaded. I was in a rush, so I kept on saying, hey, let's get this thing loaded so that I can get back to the drop before 2 o'clock. So only thing about some of these distributors, man, they have these short receiving hours. Makes it a pain, especially if you're trying to turn 2. But they was able to get me loaded. I busted my butt to get everything, you know, strapped down, hustled down the road. They stopped receiving at 2. I got there at like 1:25. So they got me unloaded. I got another load Monday, 2-stop New Jersey load. I wanted to get that today. That way I could leave out early in the morning, try to get both those stops off on Monday. But they're too busy. They actually got some work going on at the production plant part of of my customer. So they got a crane there, it's blocking part of the road and all this other stuff. So you got to go in a different way. And so they got too many trucks there and no room for nobody to sit. So I can't pick it up today. I can't pick it up till Monday. So that's all right. Be a nice early day. You know, it's not even 5 o'clock, it's 4:30. So early Friday. But y'all know how I do, man. I always want to leave y'all with something. You know, when I'm doing these videos, something, you know, to get your mind working, something to think about, whether you're in this business or trying to get into this business or thinking about getting into this business. You know, I'm sure it's been addressed 100 times, a million times. It gets addressed every day, but I've never addressed it. So from my perspective, you know, I just wanted to talk for a second about fuel costs. You know, we saw fuel costs jump a few months ago. You know, some places damn near tripled. It came down a little bit, then it went back up, and now we're kind of in this little in limbo where it's kind of hovering, going up a little bit, going down a little bit, going up, so on and so on. But it's still high. I mean, when I say high, it's high. I mean, it's at the truck stop in my area, it's $5.99 with my discount. So, you know, I think without my discount, I want to say it's like 610 or 611, something like that. So with that being said, that's something you got to take into account when you're running these loads. You know, I've preached a million times about the whole $2 a mile thing and how it's really not profitable if you think you're running loads for $2 a mile, regardless of what your overhead is. You know, $2.50 a mile, even then. Now, $2.50 a mile have you packing your stuff up, selling all your equipment. It's just the reality of it. And the other reality is there's a lot of freight still trying to be moved at $2.50 a mile. It's a downright disgrace. It's disrespectful to everybody in this industry. You know, some places aren't willing to up their fuel surcharge and everything else. And I must say, can't put it all on the brokers, because I've seen, at least in my experience, you know, I've seen where some of the brokers out there are trying to fight to get a little more money added to these rates. And some customers just aren't willing to bump that rate up because they're trying to keep their bottom line. They're trying to profit as much as possible. They're using COVID and supply chain shortages, whether it's real or not, we all know. But they're using all that stuff as an excuse not to give a proper rate, not to add more money to fuel surcharges and what have you. Now, in some places, you're getting some good rates, but if you go and look at the national average, you'll see that they ain't nowhere near where they're supposed to be. So that's something to keep in mind when you're in this business, or if you're thinking about starting this business or whatever. You know, go back to your business plan. If you're in this business and you don't have a business plan, then I don't know what to tell you. But I've talked about that before, you know, on one of my videos about making a business plan. Go back and revisit your business plan. Go back and look at what your overhead is now that fuel cost has increased. You know, I know me myself, in this truck, I went from about 35 cents a mile in fuel to 80. So, you know, it a little more than doubled. So that's a big hit, especially when you have people who have fuel surcharges that, you know, were 60, 70 cents, you know, 80 cents a mile for a fuel surcharge, and they only went up, you know, a couple cents. There's a lot of people out here, a lot of customers out here, not customers, but a lot of shippers out here that don't even have fuel surcharges above what they should be. You know, you got 72 cents, 60 cents, 50 cents for fuel surcharges. And so that means when you take a load and that's your fuel surcharge, it's under a certain amount, that means that you're coming out of your pocket to run that load. You know, I don't know if a lot of people really understand that concept. If it costs me 80 cents a mile in fuel to run this truck, if the fuel surcharge isn't 80 cents a mile or more, I'm coming out of pocket for fuel for that load. That's not profitable whatsoever. Anytime you got to come out of your pocket to move something, it's not profitable. And when you're not profitable, what happens? Your business fails. So in this day and age, in this time period that we are in, you have to be very, very cognizant of what's going on around you. So when you go back and revisit your business plan, look at some of the market trends when it comes to fuel. Try to do some predictions. I mean, that's what a business plan is for. You don't just write a business plan and keep it the same. It's always changing. You know, you look at some of these big corporations and stuff like that, you know, with their business plans and everything, they do predictions to see what they may need, what things may cost and stuff like that, so that they can kind of get their bottom line, so they know what they need to be profitable. You know, if it's one thing that COVID taught me, is that it don't matter about your business plan if you ain't well planned. You know, now COVID is something that nobody saw. I'm pretty sure nobody had anything like that in their business plan, but I do now. Guaranteed I do now. I have something in my business plan for if I have to set for 2 to 3 months because the country shut down, or there's a fuel shortage, or anything like that. Because right now we don't know what's going to happen day by day. You know, there's a lot of misinformation out there about fuel shortages here. Some people say there is, some people say there hasn't. You know, just from my experiences, I have ran across a couple of fuel stations up in the Northeast, like Pennsylvania and stuff like that, Jersey, that did not have no diesel or DEF. So that's what I'm seeing. You may be somewhere else where there's no shortage of fuel whatsoever, but from what I've seen, I ran into a few stations. Now, it wasn't a big deal. I was able to get to another one to get fuel. But that's just things that you have to watch out for if you're trying to survive in this time, in this industry. You know, you gotta play smart. And so if you're thinking about getting into this industry, keep some of that in mind. You know, not whatsoever trying to steer you all from getting into the business if you're not in it. That's never my intention. I just try to be as real as possible. So fuel prices and things like that, that's something that you have to set down, write it down. I mean, I talked to a guy the other day that called me, asked me some questions. I told him, you sit down and you write all that stuff down on paper and see if it's feasible, whether you're in the business or you're not. Write it down on paper, make your calculations, and I promise you it'll be better in the long run because you'll be prepared, or as prepared as you possibly can be. That's the name of the game, because the ones that aren't prepared are the ones that aren't going to see the next day in the industry. So you just got to be mindful of that. You know, fuel prices is one of those things that's way up in the air right now. You know, we don't know if it's coming down, whatever. You know, same with parts. You know, parts are higher than, you know, the cost of parts are higher. Sometimes not even just the cost of parts, but how long it takes them to get to you. You know, shipping. That's another thing you have to account for. If you need something simple, it might have you down for 2 weeks. You know, are you still able to survive if you have to sit for 2 weeks? Those are things that you want to put in your business plan and be prepared for. You know, I can't stress that enough because I don't want to see none of y'all fail. You know, so I try to be as real as possible, give as much real guidance as possible. You know, I ain't going to talk about how much money I make or none of that stuff. I'm just going to talk about how much money comes out, because it's a lot of money that comes out in this business, and it's a lot more coming out in this business now that everything's increased. So you got to be prepared for that. You got to have a plan for that if you want to survive. So now that I'm done on that tip, everybody have a good weekend. Spend time with your family, your friends, all that good stuff. Get your mind right for Monday. That's what I'm gonna do. Spend some time with the family. Have some fun. I think we might be going to the zoo in DC tomorrow, so that'll be fun. And as always, stay prayed up, grind hard, and stay humble.